Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle, and today we're going to be on location. I've got this question asked many times. I really haven't had the opportunity nor the expertise, if you will, to show how to cast an old style bait casting fishing reel. And our star of the show today is going to be a Pflueger Supreme. This is the Pflueger Supreme 510. It's an interesting bait caster in that it has a star adjuster on it for the drag. It's a round bait casting reel. It also has an interesting drag adjuster knob as opposed to the traditional spool cast control. And what I like about the reel as well is a rather unusual line guide. You'll notice that the line guide does not sit square, but is actually offset to one side for cranking. Now, one of the things that I've done with this reel is that I've loaded it with modern braid. This would have been used with braid in the 1940s and 50s, but I've loaded this with modern braid. This is a 20-pound test braid. Took the whole spool, so it's got large capacity for braid. And I've mounted it onto a rod, which is a modern rod, but would not be atypical of the rods that were used with this reel in the time. This one is a 6-foot long G Loomis rod. And a lot of folks have asked when they're casting, how do you cast it? Well, a lot of what we're doing here in terms of the fishing has to do with both the matching of the rod, the reel, and the line, and the lure weight to optimize the cast itself. So the old school reel would be on about a 5.5 or a 6-foot pole. It would be a stiff pole. This one's a medium fast action, but it would be on a stiff pole of the day. Probably a nice one of the day would have been like a Wonder Rod from Shakespeare. And the rod and reel combination and the lure that you select is all about how you will get casting distance. But we're going to show you how to throw the reel so that you can cast it. And for that purpose, there's no rod or line on there at all, or lure. Rather, I'm just going to use a bank sinker. This is a 2-ounce bank sinker, just to kind of show you by example how this works. Well, if you like these types of videos, if you'd like to see more, please subscribe to my channel. And if you do subscribe to my channel, please use the notification button. That'll allow you to see the reels and rods that I'm working on. And very rarely, but occasionally, I will do something like this to show you how to use that tackle. So we're going to go down to the dock here. We'll show you how to set this up, and we'll show you how to throw the lure, in this case just the bank sinker, and how to cast this reel. The Pflueger Supreme reel, this is the 510 again. This one was ahead of its time. So when we're talking about casting with what we'll call the old school or the knuckle buster reels, this one is set apart by a couple of things. The first one is that it has a star adjuster on it. That's this piece right here. A lot of times you're going to find the older reels do not have a drag adjuster. The drag simply is your power against the fish with a straight handle. The other thing that you'll find that is unique about the 510 is it does have an anti-reverse. If you look at this reel, you'll see that red button, which means that the anti-reverse is engaged. And when you flip the switch, you're into free spool, which allows you to cast it. That's very different from your stock or your basic early model knuckle buster casting reel. Again, this one has a star adjuster, and it also has an anti-reverse on it that you won't find on all of those reels. Okay. So the first thing you want to do is you want to match your lure to the line. In this case, this reel has an anti-reverse on it. That's what's showing with the red button there. But if you pull down, you're going to go into free spool. The reel is called a knuckle buster because as you go into free spool, the handle will turn backwards. Well, to ideally set your line and lure weight for casting, you want to drop from about midway. And if your reel stops without backlashing, you have it set properly. If you do not, if you do get a backlash, then you want to use your thumb control or your spool adjuster on this side to tighten or loosen accordingly. Well, we're going to bring this back up and we'll show you the technique behind casting. In free spool, you always want to keep your thumb on the spool so that the line doesn't run free. As you're casting, you want to start at about the 1 or 2 o'clock position, and you want to bring it over your shoulder, releasing the line so that you can cast. And when it comes to the point where you feel the spool slowing, you want to apply more thumb pressure. With your rod extended in about the 3 or the 4 o'clock position, you'll create an arc. You're going to turn and you're going to allow the line to go out so that it runs like this. Keeping the thumb on the line for no backlash effect. We'll do that again. Stop. All right, we're going to do that again. We're in free spool. Remember, if you're up like that, you have an anti-reverse that's holding it in. So you need to flip the switch down about the 4 o'clock position, wide arc, letting it go, but with the finger on the braid so that it doesn't backlash. Now that went out pretty good. That one I would say is probably out about 50 or 60 yards. Not bad for a 1950s reel that is holding its own on this G. Loomis pole. Well, I hope that's been helpful. I can't say that it's probably the best video that's out there because, well, I just don't do these videos. But if you'd like to see more of these types of videos, learn a little bit more about the old school rod and reels and how to use them, then please subscribe to my channel. To everybody who has subscribed so far, thank you very much. Your subscriptions are appreciated. This is the 4th of July weekend. I take the opportunity to wish everybody a great Independence Day. Remember what it's all about and enjoy your time on the water. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Thanks for watching.